We'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Y'all give it up for the amazing poets. Yes. A conversation with my mother. The year was 1971, months before my oldest brother was born. Hey, bubbling brown sugar baby girl, look at you, full of life, laughter, love. Your possibilities are endless. Those eyes are wide, curious, peering through cracked doors. Those eyes are too smart for that body. That body can't keep up with that mouth. That mouth is too full of your mother's expectations, her secrets, we don't talk about that, has finally caught up with you. 16 has finally caught up with you. 16 has been stone cold, rock hard, rough, broken dreams. What are you hiding? What have you classified between those thighs? You can tell me. You can talk to me. The things you're running from, you're running to. That prideful chest of yours is heavy, too heavy for training bras. Training bras can't carry all that shame, all that guilt, all that low self-esteem. Your daddy didn't want you. He gave up his birthrights. Your mama is too loose for him. She is made up of not the right woman, child out of wedlock, no day little girl here. That man, he gave you to hurt you. Hurt your mama, drug your mama by her black, long, beautiful hair down black, cold hallways, through lead, dirt, in low-income project buildings. Those screams kept y'all up at night. What are you hiding? In that belly, baby girl. That belly is getting big, that mouth is getting swollen. You're carrying an underground railroad in your throat, but you can't go back though. These project clotheslines have made you trapeze artists, made you perfect, but they can see what mama can't. You dropped out of school at 16. You have no high school education, and you're carrying a secret in your belly, and you can't talk about this because this is taboo. This is too much for your mother's church group, but she got secrets too. Why are you running, huh? Don't you know an uneducated, pregnant, black teenager is a Republican's nightmare? They'll make sure you stay dumb and pregnant and going nowhere, because chances are you're gonna get pregnant again, depend on the system, be on welfare, a token, a case study. They'll make films about you and call it precious. Continue to hold mirror to your face every day, reminding you the odds will never be in your favor. Why do your mama not stop you, huh? Why did she tell you the same thing happened to her when she was your age? Why black folks gotta be quiet? They heard y'all screaming. Why didn't your daddy want you? What kind of dirt did you come from that he just spit on you and kept going? No, daddy-daughter dances, you will be trapped in this body forever. Never go on your first date, never have your first prom, never have that sweet 16 ain't never gonna be sweet for you, baby girl. Your mama said, how are you gonna finish school with a baby? You can't be no smart single mother. Ain't no Michelle Obama's coming out these projects. So what we gonna do, baby girl? We're 16. We 16 and pregnant. We 16 and pregnant with no education, but look at you, full of life, laughter, love. Your possibilities are endless, aren't they? Thank you. Welcome to the Slam. Yes. My name is Candy. I'll be your host. And this is what this is going to be all about. This is about narrative poems. Poems that tell a story, and that was my story about my mother and something she went through with her mother. But I'm so excited to host tonight. We have an awesome lineup, and we're going to feature poets from the Dallas Poetry Slam team. So we're going to go ahead and get started and call up our first person that's going to be speaking this evening. So we're gonna make a big, loud round of applause for Korean.
Rare autumn day in Texas. Cold, windy, leaves swirling, but sky is blue. It's picture day in preschool. New pink shirt, off-white stretch pants, plus that big pink bow for lovely blonde curls. Mom, so proud of this 3-year-old. Anticipating dressing up this beauty, making memories. 3-year-old, determination not to wear that. Loves her short summer dresses, wears it daily with short white socks with the seam across the toes just right, and sandals. Strength and assuredness in her stance. Mom is also determined. Struggles ensue, wills clash. The pants, the shirt, the bow ultimately wins. The dress lays on the bed, rumpled, reflecting the struggles of the human spirits of both.
That was amazing. Thank you, Corinne. We appreciate that. So we have a treat because we have the 2021 Dallas Poetry Slam team in the house tonight that will be doing poems throughout. A little background on the Dallas Poetry Slam was established in 1994. 26 years ago. And over the years, every year we compose poets from all over the city, the Metroplex, to represent the area in the national competition. The team that you're about to see will be representing the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in our national competition, which will be here in April. We have poets coming in from all over the world to compete. So it's an honor to coach these poets. This is the creme de la creme, if you want to say. So without further ado, the first two poets you'll be hearing are in this order, which will be Rain, doing a poem called Airplane Safety, and Crush, which will be performing a piece entitled Brainstorm. Give it up for Rain.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for choosing Heartbreak Airlines. Welcome aboard Flight 214 with nonstop service from your emotions to anywhere that isn't here. We are, as always, first in line for leaving and expected to be in the air in approximately 3 minutes. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts at this time and secure all baggage somewhere no one will ever find it again. Let it sit in lost luggage. You never really needed it anyways. We also ask that your spine and voice remain in their upright positions during takeoff. Please turn off all of your feelings at this time, including every tear that never took off. This is very important for your safety and the safety of those on board with you. Smoking is, of course, recommended considering how messed up all this is, but as long as your neighbor is cool with it, go ahead and light up. But be careful, turbulence is to be expected. The shock will range anywhere from a tickle to a knock us out of the sky, dropping like hearts into stomachs on days when runways were just a little too short, but in this plane, we regain composure quickly, stay steady on our course, keep altitudes high enough to never come close to anything that feels like falling, but just in case we do, please direct your attention to the overhead screens as we review the emergency procedures. There are 6 emergency exits on this flight, 1 for each love you left behind. Please note the location of the closest exit. Remember, the closest exit might already be behind you. Should the cabin experience any loss of happiness, stay calm, follow the instructions of your crew. They know what's best for you. Something worth loving will drop down from above you. Please note it is a mirror. Use it to find all your own beauty before turning to help anyone else in the likely event of an emergency landing and evacuation. Leave all that stress behind. Life rafts are located in your own chest. You already know how to use them. Should you have any questions, please review the safety cards tucked into the seat in front of you. They are filled with all the poems you wrote on the days the plane left you behind. Once again, thank you for choosing Heartbreak Airlines. We hope you survive your flight.
In my dreams, time moves backwards. I am never sure which regret my thoughts are taking me to. They move so swiftly yet chaotic, a sort of brainstorm. I read that hurricanes spin counterclockwise in the north as if to reiterate, my brain only knows to move backwards. Time is captured on clocks by gears revolving in opposite directions. So brainstorms are like revolving winds of regret riding on the gears of clocks, all working together to push past and future into present, forcing time to stand still. They say there is no such thing as perpetual motion, meaning eventually everything will end. If that is true, how do I stop the energy that is keeping my regret in constant rotation, a never-ending cycle of pushing my past into present? 4:44 a.m. regret. I met a woman made of Venus. She is in my dreams. I am never sure where she is taking me. She moves so swiftly yet chaotic, an untamable storm. I read that Venus orbits in the opposite direction of all the other planets as if to say she will always make my heart beat in reverse. Our story tells of how I manifested everything I could ever want in a woman and then destroyed it, hurricane style. Let my thoughts ride on the gears of clocks, my heart and my brain revolving in opposite directions, pushing my past into my present yet again, projecting the things my exes did to me onto her. How quickly pulled triggers from past pain in the lives of innocent relationships. 3:42 a.m. regret. My grandmother had 97 trips around the sun. Her life experience riding on the gears of clocks. Her life experience. And when she passed, my emotions, a hurricane spinning counterclockwise. It had been years since I went to see her. My rationality revolving in opposite directions, believing she was the hypothesis of perpetual motion and constant rotation, but knowing in the back of my head, eventually her energy would end and time would stand still. 2:13 a.m. regret. My brain moves time forward for once. And I see my future self standing still in the eye of the storm. But how can I evolve with past still revolving? I've been keeping my distance so the loss will hurt less, but my heart is still beating in reverse. And I realize I've done it again. Let my heart lead the way into another brainstorm, treating time like it owes me something, like it can't just take someone from me in an instant. Yet here I am, just standing still, watching the clock stop.
Let's give some energy to our next poet coming to the microphone. Clap right now for Jay and
the poem is called Half a Rack of Ribs. And this instrument is a güiro. It's a Puerto Rican instrument, which, strangely enough, I play with a chopstick. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. I went on down to the barbecue shack to get me some wings and a chicken back. And when I smelled that baby back, I just had to buy me half a rack. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. I had that sauce all over my face. I dripped that sauce all over the place. And when I tasted that first rib, the owner brought me a great big rib, big bib. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. But those good ribs ain't all I got. I had me some coleslaw and some pepper hot. No, those good ribs were not alone, but I chewed them right down through the bone. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. So next time I go to the barbecue shack, and you betcha I'll be going back, I won't get chicken from the pit. A half a rack of ribs is what I'll get. Half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs, half a rack, half a rack, half a rack of ribs. And I wrote this poem, and Kathy helped me make it better. And I'll tell you the title at the end, okay? My puppy barked at me just 30 minutes after his little accident. Looking up with button-bright eyes, my puppy, he barked at me. What? Why? Do you want to go? The idea finally occurred. My puppy barked again as if to agree. Out the door we went, red leash in my hand, to the corner, in the grass. My puppy did so good.
The next two members that are coming up are Nova and Marvin. So y'all clap them up to the stage right now.
I'm from Saints games and daiquiri shop.
Marching bands and church choirs.
A bowl that's meant to keep water out.
Red rivers and black skies.
A street no more for death than graduation. Where parades and funerals are usually held for the same reason.
I hold proper etiquette and Bayou slang on the same tongue. My temper is a Cajun boil. I will set the water flaming from having my head too long.
Creole healer. Spent my summers basking in seafood and bounce music, learning how to mend souls one verse at a time. Voodoo ain't my first choice, but it's the first language I ever heard I love you in. The first time they ask if I'm afraid of the water, I'd say, I stopped fearing water a long time ago. My city know water better than most. We drowned once, Learn that hope can be used as a flotation device. Life can be an 8-foot wall of water.
We remind each other.
You gotta swim until the bad days sink to the bottom of your memories.
I started losing battle buddies way before I put on a uniform. Seeing streets turn block parties to war zone, ride marches to drive-bys, can always find the fireworks where you hear the gunshots, can always count more people that I've known die than the people that mourned around the casket. A graveyard with no bodies buried. Concrete streets hold the dead better than coffins. This is what it feels like to be the living dead, to grow numb to those that die around you.
When we have nothing left to lose, we hold tight to our memories, imprison our joy in our speech. Hey, you remember that summer?
That party, that time when
we sunbathed in good times. It's not about how deep the ocean is, but your willingness to see the sun firsthand, to make a way when home gives you no option but to leave.
You know, ever since I left, I've been feeling homeless inside my own home. I have to drive over 200 miles just to see my family, my brother and I, two inmates on opposite sides of the handcuffs. Protesting police make it easy to sleep at night. Magnolia trees grow near blood rivers. Coconuts in blackface. Dead Confederates have more rights than the living. Protesting police make it easier to sleep at night. Gunshots and fireworks.
We still going to the festival tonight. Potholes and ditches, they are one and the same. Blue notes bubbling up from a city that never sleeps. We make as much noise as possible to remind the world that we are still here. Can't no flood uproot us. We are the poor who inherited this earth, and we'll be damned if we let it go now. Growing up, everyone had a grandmother. Brick houses filled with cookies and divine mystery, but my birth was too late. She thought I can live without her arms to hold my confessions, grandmas, our churches. I was forced to grow up godless, missing the evening porch swings and misplaced sermons, holding time on her face, hands dipped in biblical texts, smelling the peppermint and hearing the choir in her voice. I began to be an atheist. If I've never seen her or touched her, does she even really exist? Is the only fact that she might be real, that I am alive, a scripture spit from the mouths of dementia? Hold me close and forget that she is gone. Family members try to cite memories to capture me in her presence, to call her spirit into this room, but being abandoned by God makes miracles a fallacy. All I've ever felt was directionless, unsure of how to hold my hands in prayer, too cautious to find solace in the arms of a mystery. Never seen a Bible feed a family, turn Kool-Aid into wine, so my doubt sprouts up dandelions in a field of magnolias, knowing God so loved the world he gave them my grandmother, but took her from me. You do not know how blessed a good thing is until it is lost to you, and I will go forever not knowing, guessing, reaching into the void of familiarity, looking for the similar face amongst my family, a nose like my brother, my sister's ears, fingertips asking for answers and only finding more questions, it seems. The more I ask, the less the family remembers her. Moments without her remind me of walking into mass after service is over, because she does not know my name. And I do not know her love. Sought her out too late. She left no pictures to smile at me from my altar. I guess grandmas are churches. So when was the last time you visited God?
That was two members of the Dallas Poetry Slam team, and we're going to keep the show moving along. Coming to the stage, another poet. Clap right now for Lauren.
This Sunday morning calls for espresso. Empty boxes, open, waiting, and stacking around shiny silver floors. Nerves racked, stomach upside down, with the next chapter looming. What will be next? Goodbye, heavy-footed neighbor lurking above. No more listening to furniture moving in the wee, quiet hours. 3 people, 2 pets, in tight space. Fond memories filled to the brim, too. What lies ahead? Hedges that need trimming, lawns that need mowing, freedom for pets and people. Space to breathe after quarantine squish. First steps, marking the door frame with height. Movers arrive tomorrow, and there's work to be done.
And start clapping right now. We're going to bring up Spades, which is one of our newer poets on the team, and then Rain and Nova will come with a group piece.
Real quick, I got a question. Anybody remember that game I Spy from school? Yeah, look, she's super excited. She raised her hand all the way up. Perfect. Okay, listen. So, anybody remember how to play? Yes. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna play real quick, right? Let's see. I spy with my little eyes something orange. I think that's orange. Okay. Look, y'all attentive. Okay, I spy with my little eyes teachers in fear of failing your children. It used to be 8 hours of throwing paper balls during roll call, halls filled with failed locker combinations, laughter, hopes, dreams, track stars. Timmy, slow down. And anything a third grader can pick out of their nose. COVID has the school crossing kids' names out. Imagine being black. The news will really show you why they are missing, and yet I spy with my little eyes teachers who feel they will never make a difference. When education needed a stimulus, the government didn't fund the assistance. Take a closer look. Let's zoom in. The system is structured for them to rearrange the boxes they've already built around you. Yet I spy teachers who make a difference because they adapted to the same learning curves and took tradition, resized the image, called these lessons plan Instagram. We're here to make sure you get a picture for all the negatives that you already work with. We can work with this because when you cried, I cried. It's just so many families have already dried these eyes. It is borderline bullying, antagonizing as a form of encouragement. Threats of bodily harm while exposed to classes all last till you are the one laughed at. Science speaks on bonds in chemistry, but not the mad scientists experimenting with their own DNA, so why do we learn history if it simply repeats? These kids had school lunch for dinner. Virtual school doesn't come with the school lunch to eat. You see, when Katie calls me out my name, parent-teacher conference shows how her mom communicates. And when John says, suck my woo, he learned that word when he was raped at 8. And when we call on Paul, and he's afraid to speak up, the last time he got an answer wrong, the screen went off. When he came back, everything but the Band-Aids on his face said he got beat up. You see, these are conditions in which we are somehow expected to teach children. Our lectures over elections when half the class is seeking protection from those who are supposed to be once invested. We signed up to be teachers, not therapists, nor nurse. You see, I find myself asking, how does it make you feel? Virtual school makes it impossible to put a Band-Aid where it hurts, so how does a child work? If they are literally questioning the reason they were given birth, these are suicide letters. But I grade them and call it creative writing. My eyes go numb before I start crying. You see, when class ends, the screen blacks. I push back from the desk just to reflect. They are schooled in the same environment in which nothing has changed. Kitchen tables full of roaches that don't make you feel better about your situation. Half naked in the background like another parent's child is not on this call, so please. I spy with my little eyes teachers who care enough to risk their bodily harm to preserve the futures of your hall. Can I spy parents who act accordingly? That's that piece.
The human brain processes reality 80 milliseconds behind it actually occurring.
By the time you hear these words, I will have already said them.
Each morning, she wakes up a new reflection of time.
She tells herself she feels like she belongs in it.
By the time you hear these words, I will have already said them.
Reality, reduced to a narrative.
She tells herself she feels like she belongs in it.
Today, she woke up an echo, a ghost of
reality, reduced to a narrative.
A memory formed when she was reaching for a moment.
Today, she woke up an echo, a ghost of
a story, armed with only secondhand time.
A memory formed when she was reaching for a moment.
Today, she woke up a photograph, frozen in a frame she did not choose.
A story, armed only with secondhand time.
She cannot remember a time before the shot went off.
Today, she woke up a photograph, frozen in a frame she did not choose.
Self-love starts in the morning.
She cannot remember a time time before the shot went off.
The flash was gone before she ever heard it.
If she could, she would soak her gunpowder in forgiveness.
Her throat, too shy to hold
A spark, only aim at the mirror.
to try to find acceptance in the cracks.
Her throat, too shy to hold.
An apology, 80 milliseconds too late.
Try to find acceptance in the cracks.
Living inside a memory, reaching for
An apology, 80 milliseconds too late.
The words were fired before she could put on the safety.
Today, she woke up,
Glass breaking.
too far behind time to
Find acceptance in the cracks.
aim for the mirror.
A hand, 650 grams too heavy.
The glass
A
shatters.
scream cuts through the eardrum.
Echo came back.
A bullet looking for a sweet spot.
A hand,
A memory.
too heavy.
A bullet.
A memory.
A scream.
A bullet.
A photograph.
A scream.
A crack.
Behind time.
The glass.
A crack.
Words fired.
The glass.
A moment.
Words fired.
No safety.
A moment.
Too late.
An
experience.
experience. Formed before the memory. The echo came back. An apology. Self-love starts in the morning. Before the body realizes it is holding a gun to its own head. 80 milliseconds.
Too late.
All right, so we're going to keep it going. We have just a couple of more poems, and that's going to close out our night. So start clapping right now for your next poet. Give it up for Mandy.
You blew into our hick Arkansas town on warm, tan Florida breeze. Guys wanted you. Girls wanted to be you. We were under your thumb, but you were mine. My best friend, mine. Until we both fell for another transplant from Alaska, more exotic than you even. Rivals. One night you said to me, "You're smart, but I'm pretty. And it's my time in the spotlight now." Clear tears on my face, your words through the wires of my clear, see-through telephone, like clear glass cutting through my heart. Ordinary words turned into extraordinary pain, cementing what I had already suspected. 28 years later, 44 years old. Those words still clear in my mind, those words staring at me from the mirror. Do you know, could you even know how one phrase can define a life? Beauty fades, but brains last forever. Why do we do this? Why do we tear each other down? But you were young. Lifetimes have passed, and you deserve forgiveness. Maybe at 45, 46, or 47. Thank you.
We're going to have, you'll get to see the whole team to close out. So we'll have Marvin to come and do a poem entitled Dear HIV. We will have Spades come back with a poem called Questionnaire, and then we'll have a big, huge group piece by the entire team entitled Riot. So y'all clap right now for Marvin.
So for my profession outside of Dallas Poetry Slam, I'm a leasing agent. So my job is to place bodies in houses in which they can call home. But before this, I was once given a house, placed a body in it. I was the tenant. The date was December 12th, 2015. I sat in the office that was too big for the bodies inside, but too small for the words that I would not swallow. The desk was a coffin brown. It hugged my attention, showed me how to be gentle with this body one day. The leasing agent, I don't remember her name, but she told me that she used to be a nurse. Irony, because I never felt so sick until I saw her. How she looked at me like a mother who's about to pull the plug on her own son with no intentions of showing up for the funeral. Empty hooks of keys of tenants that came before me surrounded us. And I knew that this was her doing and that I was next. But her office was a gravesite I did not want to get caught buried at. She showed me a house that had 2 stories to choose from, windows that invited the sun for breakfast every morning and the stars for a glass of wine at night. The floor was a coffin brown, still looking at me like it knew that God would soon make me its footstool. And then with a smile, she looked me dead in my eyes and said, "Do you think you have enough space for your HIV?" And instantly my lungs turned against me. I had no idea what to do with the house the size of the one that she had just spoken, other than die in it a gay man's death, fill the tub with water and drink myself under all of his holy, with the wrath of God boiling in my veins, knees bleeding from praying to a man that had a silly sense of humor, wondering why had God forsaken me? Why would he giveth me a body that he knew I knew not what to do with it, dying? Never sounded so beautiful until I was finally given a house to do it in. So much space. It's going on 6 years now. 6 years and 2 suicide attempts later, y'all, and I am still here, still standing as the aftermath of what happens when you take a positive situation and turn it into an undetectable one, when you take something that is meant to kill you and use it to keep somebody else alive, show them how to be gentle with the bodies that we call home and the ones that we let live inside of, and how even when we don't, how even when we forget, how even when it seems like some days it's just a little too hard. So y'all, I am still here. I am still alive. I am still breathing. I'm still here. For my job, I'm a leasing agent. I'm to place bodies in houses in which they can call home, and this I am good at. Especially on the days when I am my only tenant.
The afterlife should stop leaving questionnaires. The dead's only response are flatlines. I learned that from a friend who had it self-taught in the highest form of abuse, given to him in the lowest form of his life. My friend committed suicide. The news traveled in baby steps, grew with curiosity, began to question over time every detail, like, when did I miss the smiles in your back? When did I miss the bad days in your smile? Did you curl your dark thoughts in oil sheen? When you asked me and Jamel to go to the movies, was this the horror film you had in mind? Did you do it with the same hands you raised daughters? Brown melanated queens you called your world. So what was the gravity of this new situation? What magnetic pulls attracted triggers? The same trigger that refused to ride backseat as a chauffeured my friend to his final destination. You see, I told Josh, when he lost his car, I'd pick him up from anywhere. Work, home, Sprint, on 133rd and State Line. That store closed now. But maybe had he stuck around, the CBD shop might have given him the relaxation we all would die for. Sky's the limit. You wanted to take it literally. Well, here I go, GPS in heaven ever since. The worst part, the directions. I pray I don't get them from the same person you let take the wheel. You see, you used to cuff hard times in beige sweaters. It was in your jeans to make rhythms with the blues. Was I dropping you off to make a living, or was every day another deposit into your funeral? How many bullet points proved you dead wrong? What really weighed more? The heat or the decision you made with it? Who is unknowingly carrying your last I love you questions that will never be answered? And how could they? The dead only respond with flat lines.
Marching down Main Street, nothing but boarded up businesses. Blacks always the culprit. Thank God for social media. Exposing black truth, white lies, white hands on the handle of the pot, calling the kettle black. We've reached our boiling point. We in these streets, marching, kneeling, chanting, praying, bonding, bringing bulletproof bravery, fists to the sky, sun bronzing our backbones, ancestors blowing a cool breeze, letting us know they got our back. We out here trying to pull a revolution from the iniquitous clouds hovering over us, shifting reality. You will not stop us from breathing, loving, growing, evolving.
Scorch the city to a midnight sky. Tell the stars to close their eyes and beg them not for their forgiveness. I won't come unprepared. You won't take me down easily. I am third generation army, but first generation too tired to wait for a presidential election to hear the police sirens drowning out our cries. So tonight, I won't ask for justice because I won't come with any to give in return. I may not live to see our glory, but I resurrect to make sure that we get this here right. So kill me twice or kill me once, but I won't die so easy tonight.
We tread the pavement until the streets bend under our feet. This is an unstoppable object raising what's been called immovable. Our chants echo in the night until the dawn comes blazing in. We will not bow in complacence. Tear gas is no longer a deterrent, just proof we got your attention. We'll rain down these streets, hands searching for lost freedom, hoping for the strength to keep the fight going, to keep screaming the names of angels sent to heaven too soon.
The names of the fallen may outweigh our numbers, but we will carry them with us until a better tomorrow is promised.
We rage in rivers through jungles of concrete stained red with war crimes. When polite and peaceful picket signs prove pointless against prejudice, we add our voices to the chorus of a new anthem. Remove hand from heart, raise fist in togetherness, turn our bodies into barriers ready to block bullets or bulldoze the boulevard of bigotry. Battle cries of hashtags break on the horizon of a new day. We are done asking for justice today. We demand it through trials of blood and fire. Take this land back into the black and brown hands that built it. Did you forget who this country really belongs to?
This is order by way of anarchy, an arsonist lullaby. We march into justice. If we don't get it, we riot, we break, we ruin, we crash, we burn this nation down.
Well, this was a great night, don't you think? Let's clap for all the poets. Let's clap for Lauren, Jay Ann, Corinne, and Mandy for sharing their work. Clap for Peter for being such a gracious host, and for the Dallas Slam team. And I'm your host, Candy, and that concludes our evening.